Amidala Hopa. Thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. The National Congress of American Indians is asking a judge to dismiss a lawsuit against it brought on by a group in favor of the R-word mascot previously used by the NFL's Washington Commanders. The lawsuit by the group called the Native American Guardians Association alleges that NCAI conspired with the Washington Commanders to change its former name, which is a dictionary-defined racial slur. The Native American Guardians Association is citing a press release published by NCAI that urged the Commanders to keep their name rather than going back to the R word. NCAI President Mark Maccaro says the organization's press release was free speech and, quote, far from unlawful. The Native American Rights Fund is representing NCAI in court. Tribal leaders are headed to Washington, D.C. ahead of this week's highly anticipated White House Tribal Nations Summit. But there's a familiar face who will be missing in person. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday. Her office says she is experiencing mild symptoms, is fully vaccinated, and will be isolating following CDC guidelines. She is expected to continue participating in Wednesday and Thursday's White House Tribal Nations Summit, but remotely. Earlier last week, the White House confirmed that President Joe Biden will address tribal leaders in attendance. Well, there will be many issues at the top of mind for tribal leaders in D.C., including for one tribal nation in Oregon. The Coquille Indian Tribe told ICT it is hoping to build a second casino, but critics argue that it goes against the state's one tribe, one casino verbal agreement. One issue with that is that the agreement has not been codified. The other issue is the proposed proximity to other casinos in the area, as well as tribal leaders who say the land is not the ancestral homelands of the Coquille. The proposed location in Medford, Oregon, is over an hour away from any other casino. We turn now to New Mexico, where some lawmakers and advocates say they are against a newly announced council to address the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people. The advisory council was announced last week by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham as a means to replace a previous task force, which was quietly ended earlier this year. Officials were able to weigh in during a public comment session at the state's Indian Affairs Committee last week. One non-native state lawmaker criticized the move, saying advisory councils get buried in state government. Another said starting an advisory council is like starting from scratch. The state's Indian Affairs designate, James Mountain, said he will take those messages back to the Lujan Grisham administration. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. The Department of Energy has announced that 2 tribal colleges will get $3 million to invest in solar energy. ICT's Shirley Snavy has more.
Joining us today is Wahala Johns, and she's the director of the Office of Indian Energy Policy and Programs for the U.S. Department of Energy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to talk to you about solar energy today. I know that it was announced that you have been investing, the department has been investing in tribal colleges. Could you tell us a little bit about that program?
2 areas that we were wanting to support tribal colleges and universities is the first is for planning grants. So if a TCU is thinking about integrating or even designing clean energy to apply on their campus, that was one area that we could help to support. The second area is also for clean energy technology deployment. So if campuses and TCUs are ready to deploy clean energy on their campuses, that was what also the other we call it topic area that was included in the funding opportunity.
So when you're talking about clean energy, what does that mean? How is that defined?
For our office, what we typically see is solar, wind, battery storage. There are some energy efficiency as well that many of our funding opportunities help to support tribes that are working to really strengthen their power grid reliability. And also many of the projects we've supported are focused on sort of building stronger energy security in their communities to help weather against climate impacts that many tribes are facing or have faced in the past several years. And so there's many examples that we can point to where tribes are really leading the movement for integrating clean energy into their homes, their tribal buildings, their communities, and their nations. And I think it's just a beautiful way of showing and demonstrating that tribes really are taking the lead in applying these technologies, but also with the values that Native American people have.
I really like the concept of energy sovereignty. I think that's brilliant.
Our office have supported over 200 projects, and majority of those projects are clean energy projects. And many of the tribes, as they are applying the clean energy technology into their nations, they are seeing the benefit of saving funding, cost saving, and then also, again, making their nations much stronger and building capacity of how to do these type of projects, and making sure that they are more energy secure, which is really the kind of area that we want to make sure that I guess encourage that vision. And they say that that's their that is tribal energy sovereignty. These TCUs are going to have to generate curriculum development in the planning phase, but also in the deployment phase, and making sure that there's a learning component and a teaching component that's a part of the deployment of these clean energy technologies. And I do think college campuses, tribal colleges and universities are the models of how we want to be living in our community, right? And these are areas where you have young people coming in that are coming out of high school, and we want to make sure that they're able to learn hands-on about certain technologies. And there's a lot of different measurements that go into, as you are looking at one building or a home, you have to look at how much power you're producing, or not producing, but you're using. And but you also have to design these systems to be able to come on so that it can help generate power during the time of heavy usage of power. And so there's a lot to learn. I mean, I think even just at a home level, there's so much to learn about cost savings and making sure you're designing, whether it's solar or wind or battery storage, that it's actually going to help in the long term provide the power for your home, but also for your community. Tribal colleges and universities play an integral role in cultivating Native American leaders with experience, knowledge, and passion to pursue innovative pathways towards a future that is sustainable. While we invest in our young people, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more clean energy experts, clean energy projects that are going to be aligned with who we are as Native American people. And again, college campuses and these universities are perfect places for us to learn more about how we can build a more just and sustainable world.
Well, thank you, Wahala John. She's the Director of Office of Indian Energy Policy and Programs in the Department of Energy. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.